go.
Hello.
There we go. Thank
Yes.
you, everybody, and welcome to Spin Legal. It's January the 20th. And hey, this is episode 101. And you know what I've got in my hand? Nobody actually claimed the Tim Hortons card, did they?
Hey, but Tim Hortons card, where was it?
The $5 Tim Hortons card that we said we would give to somebody who commented on last week's show.
You didn't get anybody commenting on last week's show.
Yeah. Except we did get the president of the Ontario Paralegal Association saying he wanted board members to come on the show on an infrequent basis.
Yeah, periodically, yes.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
So, we'll look forward to that.
Yeah.
And we'll find out.
And other people too.
Yeah. And we'll find out more. You know, once we got one guest, I think we should try and get a guest, a monthly guest.
Yeah, at least until we can start looking at regular guests, because I don't want to have the same kind of problems at True Politics.
Yeah. Okay, so welcome. If you need to contact Invictus Legal, you can do so at 905-688-5598. Email Angela through angela@weareinvictus.legal or me through peter@weareinvictus.legal. Our website is weareinvictus.legal. And that'll have to change for a guest. Okay, so we're going to be discussing topics tonight. It's not really one that you need to engage us for, but if you are suffering a disability, it's probably wise that you learn about Canada disability benefits and disability tax credits. They're linked.
I can help people get the tax credit if they get turned down. There is an appeal process. But that frequently happens. They do get turned down a lot.
Yeah, well, they are linked, and it's an important thing to understand what they are. And you know, there might not be much money, and disability advocates have been complaining about how poorly funded the Canada disability benefit has been, but you know, and it's easy to assume that $200 a month is meaningless.
But if you're a millionaire, you know, you'll get lots of money from the government.
Well, I was going to say, if you're
they'll subsidize your EV, they'll subsidize everything you get.
Yeah, but again, you know, sometimes, you know, the $200 might well just be something that you might need it for something. So don't knock it. It's, you know, it's $200 that you didn't have yesterday. All right.
Yep.
Okay, so tell me something about Canada Disability Benefit. It's only really been around for a little while, hasn't it? What is it?
Yep. This came around as a result of the federal government legislation passing it. It was passed a couple of years ago, and then it started last year, where people started to get their $200 a month. Okay. And basically, there was a study done on it about the Canada Disability Benefit. And what would be done, they said that it would probably help about a third of the people with disabilities, because I would think that that's because of the low eligibility rate for the disability tax credit. But those who get on it could get it, okay? So they can get the disability benefit. So basically what it is, and what it is, it's a federal government top up for people who are disabled, whether you're getting any other kind of disability benefits, long-term WSIB or any kind of disability.
Yeah, so and actually some of the people who might get it may actually not get some other benefits.
Yeah, exactly. There are people who might just be on a very low income.
Yeah. Okay. And one of the things here, it's available for anybody who's between 18 and 64 years of age. So, hey, you magically no longer disabled at 64, eh?
Yeah, at 65 years old, your disability goes whoosh.
You know, I want that drug.
Yeah, me too.
Because it seems my ankle's aching more than it ever ached before.
Yeah. and my bad back is aching me more.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
And
this is very interesting because they argued that they wanted to set it up like the guaranteed income supplement, but then they want to stop at 64 years old because this was only for working age. But working age is arguably maybe for a lifetime for some people.
well, I started working when I was 13. Okay, so I was still going to school and I was doing a paper round. I had more responsibility than Pierre Polyev on my paper round
Oh, yes.
because I ended up being the kind of head paper boy, and I had to whip them
Oh,
into action. You see,
did you set policies for paper boys and stuff?
yeah. You see, that was the point. I'd go around with a bicycle and say, "Hey, you there, get your papers delivered. I want you back at the office in 10 minutes."
But Pierre didn't make it that way. And then he
No,
started serving coffee at what's his name?
so so
Stockwell.
I was working younger than 18,
Me too. I
right?
was 12. I was 12 when I started.
Yeah. But again, you have to start somewhere, I guess,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. We all did.
Yeah.
Okay. And
And
during our day, a lot of us worked. Well, we went to school. We worked part time, usually just different jobs like you had, like your paper boy. Then you went up to become head paper boy. And then me, I was a babysitter. Then I guess I became head babysitter at some point.
and okay, so this one's an obvious one. This one's an obvious one. You've got to be a Canadian resident for tax purposes.
Yeah, like you can't be living off an island. You can't be going off to Cayman Islands and claiming it.
Well, it's obvious, really, in a way, because you have to live here,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. You live here to collect the benefit.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
part of being a Canadian resident.
yeah. And it's not saying that Canadians who live abroad can't get it, but they must be in Canada to get it,
hmm Yeah, Canadian
right?
resident doesn't mean you have to live here like 100% of the time
Yeah.
because there are residency definitions that vary from program to
Well,
program.
okay, so there might well be, absolutely. And for example, if you're a snowbird and you're heading off, you're a 50 plus snowbird and you head off to Florida for the winter, yeah, maybe it doesn't.
Wish I
It does
was
apply. It doesn't.
Izzo today.
Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. God, it's freezing today.
Yeah, we need that today. Yeah, but
Yeah,
anyway, okay. So basically, as I said, we said it's 200 a month for 20 for
2,400 annually.
2,400 a year.
Yeah, personally, like they say, it'll be rolled up like index to the cost of living each year. But one of the things is I don't think it's going to be way much more than that ever.
Mm.
Because once you get onto those things and they get onto these things, they don't like to increase these programs that much because people don't want to give money to poor people. They'd rather give money to the Loblaws and to wealthy people. Right?
Well,
And
okay.
don't you, as a taxpayer, love giving your money to wealthy people?
No,
Yeah, I don't.
no.
They don't need it. They can make it. They can earn
Yeah.
it, and they do okay earning it.
And
Some people
okay,
just can't earn it.
so in terms of okay, it is an income-based payment. So if a member of your family, let's say your spouse, if their net income increases, your benefit may go down.
Yeah, it's the same way as any other benefit. I think your family income has to be something like 32,000 or something, and then they start clawing it, and it doesn't take very long for it to go to zero.
Yeah,
And $32,000 is not very much.
yeah, yeah.
Like if
Okay,
everybody checked the price of rent and the price of food and everything else today, you can't live on it.
all right. I noticed also something about it is inflation adjusted.
Yeah, it'll be adjusted the cost of living. It's like other federal benefits. Like if you get OAS or CPP or anything like that, it gets adjusted every year. And
And So essentially, it's $200 a month at the moment, and it began in July of 2025. But let's say there was 10% inflation this year. Would that mean that the amount would rise by 10% next year in a year's time?
And so they go by the CPI and Bank of Canada. Okay. So Bank of Canada right now does, they have a inflation calculator that they publish. So you can go on that, and that's how much these benefits tend to go up. Like if you don't have a high inflation rate and things are not very high inflation, it probably won't go up very much.
Yeah.
But we did have a high inflation rate during the pandemic, and there's a period of time that some of the benefits did go up, by more than 5%. So, and that was beneficial, although the benefits started at a very low rate. So I don't know. Hey, people are, they do need to live, just like anybody else does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the things I understand about this, in order to get the Canada Disability benefit, you have to ensure that you've been approved for disability tax benefit first.
Yep. And I'm going to read you the definition.
I called it the wrong thing. Disability tax credit is not a benefit, it's a credit.
Okay. I have to go. I'm going to read you the definition. Who is eligible?
Are we talking about who is eligible for
the disability tax credit? You may be eligible for the disability tax credit if a medical practitioner certifies that you have a severe and prolonged impairment in one of the categories, significant limitations in two or more categories, or receive therapy to support a vital function.
Yeah.
So they have 9 categories. Walking.
And actually, Angela, we will go through those in a minute because we're going to cover disability tax credit after this.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and it does have a very strict definition. Okay?
Yeah.
And you can have it a less strict if you have one more issue that you have. But the thing is, it's still very hard to get. Some people get it easily, like yours truly. Other people have to work at it, because especially if your issue is episodic, or if it's mental health, or if you have like something like seizure disorder, or if your disability keeps you from driving, or if you have an anxiety disorder.
Yeah. And the Canada Disability benefit, even if you've got the disability tax credit, it's no guarantee that you're going to get the Canada Disability benefit, is there?
Yeah, no guarantee, because then they're going to go back to your income, your family income. Yeah. And your family income may be $1 too high for you to get it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so one of the things about this is that you apply through Service Canada, not through Service Ontario. And if you look it up, there is actually a web page you can make your application for Canada Disability benefit through. But what it's going to tell you here, and I'm reading from the thing, it's how to apply. First of all, it says you ensure that you have your disability tax credit approval and have filled out your taxes for last year.
Yeah, you have to do your tax return every year.
Now,
as long as you're on Canada.
We're in that kind of in-between period right now. We're in January, where we're still in the 2025 tax year. So if you were making your Canada Disability benefit application right now at the beginning of January, they'd still be looking for the 2024 tax return, wouldn't they?
No, they're going to start looking. Yeah, 24 would be good.
24, because that's
and in April they'll start looking at your 25.
Yeah, exactly. In May you'll be starting looking at your 2025 tax return. Okay. The other thing is you apply through Service Canada, and you can do it on the website, or you can do it by phone. Right? So, where's she gone?
I'm here.
Oh, oh, it's Justin again calling, isn't it?
It's not.
All right, I'm going to put up the link to the website on down here. Right, this is the link.
Hello.
Hello, who is this?
Hi, Mrs. Carolina. Look at
Oh,
this.
okay.
Yeah,
People who
okay.
call me, I don't like that.
So just for everybody's information, the website is actually in the comments down beneath, and I've highlighted it here. So that's how to apply, is that website there, right? And the back to where we were. So you can apply for Service Canada, or you can actually you can apply by phone. And I'm going to put this one up in as a comment. Here you go. So the comment is going up there right now by phone. There we go. You can apply by phone on 1-833-486-3007.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I will leave that one up there for a few minutes. And you can visit the canada.ca website or resources from organizations like, the
Canada Without Disability is one of them that's done a lot of work on us. Canadian Council of Disabilities, and there's many other disability organizations that can help you with this.
Exactly. So disability organizations are going to help you understand this tax credit and whether you benefit and whether you can apply for it.
Yeah, and they're trying to do this, and there is some, from what I understand, is there's some government funding to help educate people about the benefit and also to help people get the forms filled out by their doctors.
Okay. And actually, probably this is a point whereby somebody who is applying for Canada Disability Benefit may actually may educate themselves to a level whereby they know a little bit more about it than their doctors, unless their doctors have actually made dozens of applications beforehand. Chances are that the patient may actually know more about it, and the doctor may appreciate that assistance in terms of getting to the, how can you apply. The doctor, a large amount relies upon the doctor because it's the doctor's say so as to whether you're eligible or not anyway.
And they'll put it in and then they will submit it. And as I said, even then, there's no guarantee you'll be eligible.
Okay. So let's go now and discover and work our way through the disability tax credit. So with the disability tax credit, unlike the Canada Disability Benefit, doesn't give you any extra money in your pocket.
Well, but it is the gateway.
Yeah, it might give you some extra money in your pocket because it adjusts your taxes at the end of the year.
Yeah, right? Exactly. It's beneficial if you're working and you have it, right? And it adjusts your taxes, even if that's all you're going to be using it for.
Yeah.
Right? So market your conditions that you have or your functions that you have that have to be markedly restricted is walking, mental functions, like you have to be pretty almost like Alzheimer-ish, disabled or severe anxiety disorder, dressing.
So people who are eligible, they're saying, marked. So they've gone marked restrictions in walking, hearing, mental functions, speaking, dressing, vision, feeding, life-sustaining therapy, or
eliminating.
They call it eliminating bowel or bladder functions.
Yeah, like say, for instance, if you've had an ostomy or if you have that sort of thing, okay? Or you're severe colitis or something like that that really interferes with affecting your normal life. Life-sustaining therapy is like if you have to, say, go to dialysis, or if you have to manage type 1 diabetes, which is a lot more difficult and complex to manage.
Oh, okay. So that's what life sustaining is
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it has to be 14
Walking,
hours or more a week.
yeah, walking is the one that impacts me because walking, there are a various set of situations, and it's not about what you're like on your best day. It's about what you're like on your worst day.
Yeah, but it's something that's got to be almost constant. Okay, when they say severe and prolonged, it has to be almost constant, like 90% of the time or more.
Mm.
Okay, like that. In other words, what they want is something that is a clear-cut disability. Okay, which is a little problem if you have like there are some episodic disabilities that are put in there and recognized. But the problem with episodic disabilities is that sometimes you're not disabled. If you have a seizure disorder, what if you don't have another seizure for another 2 years?
You mean somebody who's got epilepsy?
Yeah, exactly. And there are people who have a seizure disorder, but they may not have a seizure for another 2 years.
So you could have a seizure right now, if you were such a person, you could have a seizure right now and you'd be in a very bad situation on the floor. You need to call the ambulance. You need to get medical attention ASAP. And of course, where's a doctor when you actually absolutely need one? Nowhere to be seen, right?
And it also has to have where you can't take medicine or any kind of thing that would be able to ameliorate it, so it doesn't markedly disable you. For example, and this is where a lot of things with mental health issues come in, because medicine doesn't help all mental health. But
For
for some mental
example,
health, for example, anxiety disorder, some people take the medicine and they do fine.
yeah. And for example, if you're an epileptic fit, a seizure could ruin your day.
Yeah, you ruin your day. You have a bad couple of days. Then after that, you're okay.
Yeah. And again, something like diabetes, if you're diabetic and you get a hypoglycemic episode, again, and a hypoglycemic fit, again, it could ruin your day, or even it could last 20 minutes or it could last a few hours, couldn't it?
Yeah,
the impact of it, I mean.
Yeah, and then you have to deal with it through eating some kind of drink an orange juice or something.
Yeah.
If you have a hypoglycemic, but with type 1 diabetes, it's a lot more complex, since you actually have to measure and calculate your food. It has to be timed. You have to measure your insulin dosage, everything.
Yeah. I used to have a girlfriend a long time ago that was a type 1 diabetic. And I know that you're type 2 diabetic, and my wife is as well.
Yeah, type 2 diabetes doesn't count as life-sustaining therapy.
Yeah.
Okay. The only time your diabetes might be is if it caused something severely, like if they caused you to go blind or something. And there are some diabetics that might go that way. Okay.
Well, it can also, one of the questions about that is, okay, how does life-sustaining therapy count for things like, what do you call it, kidney dialysis?
Because you're on dialysis for a certain number of days per week, 2 or 3 days per week.
Yep.
Okay. Or you have overnight dialysis if you do it at home. And it's time that's taken to do the dialysis, to set it up and actually go through the dialysis.
Well, because dialysis itself is usually like a 6 to 8 hour session, isn't it?
Exactly. And it's more than 14 hours a week.
Yeah, exactly.
So these things are like that. But there's a lot of other things where people have to take care of their health, but it may not be 14 hours a week.
Yeah. Okay. So eligibility, for example, we talked about walking, and walking, ability to walk means that you're unable to walk on your own, or it takes 3 times longer than somebody of a similar age who doesn't have an impairment, or even if you use appropriate therapy, medication, and devices.
Yeah, and this is very clear cut. Say if you're in a wheelchair, or if you have to use a walker or a cane, okay, but you still have problems because you're slow, okay, because you still have to be careful. Or if you have a prosthetic, or
Well,
if you have an injury.
that's kind of, yeah, and there's a lot of these sort of things. So there's a lot of conditions, and if they apply to you, check them out. Okay, hearing, for example, hearing. For some people, hearing can be a challenge, even with the help of appropriate devices, therapy, and medication. If you have severe or profound hearing loss, the disability tax credit may offset some of the costs of impairment. So if you are unable to hear so as to understand spoken conversation with a familiar person in a quiet setting, or it takes you 3 times longer than somebody of a similar age who does not have the impairment.
Yeah, and even with a hearing aid.
Yeah.
You know, this is where it gets tricky. I have a friend of mine has a cochlear device. She can't get the disability tax credit.
Yeah.
Even though there's issues with the cochlear device.
Yeah.
So I mean, I find this kind of unusual. Mental functions is kind of strange too, because I've had.
Well, let's talk about that one right now. Because mental functions, it's for some people who are performing everyday mental functions, can be a challenge, even with the help of appropriate therapy, medication, or devices.
Yeah, and this is where a lot of people, like I know many people who are, say, bipolar or anxiety ridden or different types of things, they take medication and they function.
Yeah.
Okay? And they can perform their everyday life, but it's when they may have periods when they can't, but that may only be like they might have to spend like a week off work or something. Okay? And this type of thing, when this is a kind of an episodic thing, it's not taken into account, because the impairment is defined as being unable to perform the mental functions necessary for life, even with appropriate therapy, medication, and devices.
And what they're saying here is that it takes 3 times longer than somebody of a similar age who does not have the impairment.
Yeah, which is kind of weird. Like, how would a person take 3 times as long? Okay? Like, how did they measure an average person in terms of certain things?
Yeah.
Especially for a mental thing. I could see walking. Okay? Like, I can walk, and if it takes you more time to walk, than an average person, because you have other people walking and they take, most people walk X number of miles per minute or whatever. But
minutes per mile.
How fast do you think? How fast do you solve problems?
Yeah.
Like, what if you're depressed? You can't solve problems?
Yeah.
Some people can think very well when they're depressed.
And also, here's the next one: is do you know whether it's a mental function disorder or whether it is a speaking disorder, for example?
Yeah, autism is something that has been a challenge, but that's been fought, and there have been some criteria put in to help people with autism.
And for example, people who challenge, even with the help of appropriate therapy, medication, and devices, it aims to offset the cost of related impairment, reducing the amount of tax you might have to pay. Right. But it's saying again that if you're unable to speak so as to be understood by a familiar person in a quiet setting, or it takes 3 times longer than somebody of a similar age who does not have that impairment.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's 3 times longer. I'm not sure about how that works.
Like, am I supposed to speak really fast? Is that 3 times as fast, or really slow?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's kind of a very, very vague, these definitions.
They are, but
Yeah.
again, how do you make them precise when in fact probably they've asked doctors about this and the doctor said, I don't know how to describe this.
These can be challenged,
Yeah,
under human rights criteria.
And dressing eligibility, for example, for some people, dressing themselves can be a challenge. We had a client in who was telling us that dressing himself was a challenge because he can't bend down to put socks on, for example.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a lot of difficulty with socks.
Yeah, I have to sit down to put socks on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I sit down to put socks on. I can do my right leg by lifting it up to almost my knee and pulling it on that way. But my left, I can't lift it at all. I have to kind of almost bend over. It really hurts my back sometimes to bend over and almost pull it across the floor.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, and there's people who can't dress themselves because they have severe arthritis.
And I wouldn't even be able to qualify for the dressing eligibility, and I have problems, right?
Yeah, exactly. And this is
we have had clients who've come in for other related things who have major problems dressing themselves. In fact, there are people with disabilities who actually have who have PSWs in who will help them dress themselves.
Yeah, and this again is something you're getting help.
Yeah.
Vision, it's usually based on as a result of some kind of medical condition. You have to have one of the following in both eyes, even after correction. So even if you wear glasses or whatever, you still have to have 20 to 200 or 6 or 60 or less on an eye chart, the Snellen or equivalent. And if your impairment is present almost all or of the time. So in other words, you almost have to be legally blind. Okay? It doesn't mean you have to be totally blind, but you have to be legally blind. The CNIB actually has some tools that could measure that to test you for the degree of blindness.
Well, I think the blindness one here this is more technically, the definition here is much more technical than any of the other ones that we've
easier to measure. To measure.
Yeah.
Okay?
Exactly.
Feeding.
Yeah.
And this doesn't mean ability to go and shop and to bring groceries, but to actually prepare your food.
Yeah.
So it assumes that you've been able to go grocery shopping, to get all your food home and to bring it in, but you're unable to prepare it.
Yeah.
So you have a full fridge, everything's there, all your ingredients, but you don't have it. It takes you too long to do it.
Mm-hmm. And even like making a salad you can't do it.
Yeah. And there are people that can't stand up to cook or to make meals or just don't understand how to make meals. Maybe there could be a cognitive issue too.
And this isn't a temporary disability thing, by the way. I was brought up to actually a thing where I was discussing with somebody here today about the fact that my wife broke her leg about 20 years ago, and while she was off on leave with her broken leg, she used to run around the house in her in an office chair.
Mm-hmm.
And what she'd do is she'd go to the kitchen and she'd stand up on one leg off the chair to do the cooking.
Well, the elimination function is interesting.
And that's only obviously for temporary disability, but she could still
last a year or more. If it lasts a year or more, and they would be eligible under that, you could get it.
Yeah. Well, I guess so. I guess so. But how imaginative?
Automobile accidents, that type of thing. That type of thing, so people can get that, because some people do have to have that and have to go through some rehab.
Yeah.
And after that, they don't qualify. But here it is, the eligibility criteria for eliminating. You have to be unable to personally manage bowel or bladder functions, or it takes you 3 times longer than someone of a similar age who does not have the impairment. So if you go to the bathroom, it takes you 3 times as long.
That's a weird one. That's a weird one, because I've met some people in my life who, there are some people I've met in my life that they go to the bathroom, they're done in 15 seconds, right? And my brother-in-law, for example, he goes to the bathroom and he sits there for 3 hours.
Yeah. Is he reading?
Most likely, yeah.
A lot of times.
The only place he ever did any reading was in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest. Let's be honest. Within his book, he can put a nice little porno mag, can't he?
Oh yes, exactly. So we talked about the life-sustaining therapy, but the other one too, because this is a very, very strict criteria, they do allow people, if they have 2 or more on that list, that may be significant limitations that does not include life-sustaining therapy. So if you got 2 or more things, like say if you have a visual and a walking issue, or mental functions and a dressing issue, or that kind of thing, as long as they produce a significant limitations, they exist together or almost all of the time, generally 95% or more, and the limitations were combined, their cumulative effect would be both equivalent to being unable or taking 3 times longer than someone of a similar age, present or substantially all of the time. Again, that will throw off some of the people I talked about earlier. But this is but there are people who sometimes could use that as a bit of help. Like say, for instance, if they have a very bad back and they have some difficulties walking, but they don't quite meet the severe and marked limitations, but they also have an anxiety disorder. So sometimes they can throw that in and maybe they can qualify. But it's very difficult, because what this does is claiming that only these people have significant additional expenses for disability. Some of them don't have any extra expenses, and some of them have a huge amount.
Yeah. Well, for example, a walking disability, a walking impairment might well mean that, hey, to catch the bus, you can run for it. I have to wait for the bus half an hour later.
Yeah, you have to take longer to get to the bus. But it's not costing you more.
It doesn't cost me anymore. But I can still take a bus. I'm just taking the later bus than you are.
Exactly. Right? So these are things there, and there's a lot of other functions in life that they don't cover, and they don't really want to do. Like there's clerical functions, working functions, ability to drive or to transport, geographic geolocation. There's a whole bunch of them. I had a whole list of them one time. And as I said, this could be subject to human rights challenge, especially if they're tacking it on to benefits for people with disabilities. They have to really be careful. So either that, or they're just going to have to judge it liberally and let people move on.
Let's explore that one for a moment. When you human rights challenges, this is a Canada benefit.
Yeah.
Right. So clearly you would actually have to take it through the Canada
Human Rights Tribunal.
Not the Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario.
No, it'll be the Canada Human Rights Tribunal. They have similar criteria where you could designate the federal government, for example, as having a policy or some kind of program that would be discriminating from within.
Yeah.
They have these things. Like, for example, when I talked about in an earlier program in Ontario, when people were having a special diet for people who are on Ontario Works or ODSP, and then they suddenly cut it down to you had to have 40 conditions. But some people had other conditions that required a special diet or whatever, and they couldn't get the special diet money.
That's not taken into
human rights, and we won.
Well, that's not taken into consideration, for example, a vegan.
Yeah, exactly.
Or a person who has religious specific religious practices that limit their diet.
Yeah, there could be in that, and I don't think that's ever been tested. But these are things like with respect to this, like what I'm saying about the special diet. This is on the same kind of legal arguments that were made, that have to be made at a federal level to say that there are many, many areas where a disability can impact a person. I could sit here, I'm unable to use my hand to handwrite, or I could have a hard time putting files together or to organize things, and to organize different things. It could take me 3 times as long to clean my house, or like that kind of thing. So there's a lot of different types of things that people could have, and I'm sure people out there listening to this also can think of other things.
Oh yeah.
And it would be linked to an impairment, of some sort. Maybe there's ADHD. People with ADHD have a number of these types of issues.
Well, with those categories that you talked about, probably there's going to be somebody who's going to say, well, I don't fit into any of those categories, but I'm still disabled.
Yep. And that's right. A lot of people.
And there's some other people who will say, yeah, well, walking and feeding are my 2 big issues, or walking, hearing, and feeding.
Mm-hmm.
That type of thing,
So, and then if they can prove it, they can put it together as significant limitations.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is where it becomes a problem, and they know that not everybody with a disability has an ability to qualify for this. There is only a minority of people that they believe would benefit through the Canada Disability Benefit.
Mm-hmm.
But what about the people who don't qualify for that? Do they not have disability-related costs that are high too?
Oh yeah, exactly.
It's very high for my costs.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And I don't know how high it is for you, because you still have to go and wear all those socks and those braces and everything you have.
Yeah.
And they cost money.
Yeah, they cost money.
Yeah. So I mean, these are things that I think that they're not taking into account that people have to do, and they're really going to have to need a better definition completely. More along the lines of maybe ODSP's definition, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because ODSP is fair, and it doesn't look at a specific function, but it does address issues about whether you're able to function in a community or whether you're able to function in a workplace, and how you function in your personal care. And it would include things like walking, mental functions, dressing, hearing, speaking. All of that stuff would be in there. But at the same time, some of these other things might fall into place too.
Okay. And we mentioned this before, but remember, we're talking about disability tax benefit. It can be retroactively applied.
Yep, and go back 10 years. So if you get this and you've paid a taxable income at some point within the last 10 years, tell CRA to go back and make changes. You can get a retroactive tax credit back given to you. So, and it's very good. And if you are earning and you have a disability tax credit, so you claim it every time you write your taxes, and then they will reduce the amount of taxes that you pay, and it gives you that advantage. And that paired with the regular 3% medical credit, that helps a number of people.
Okay, there's another thing also to remember. We've just been talking about the disability tax credit. And once you've gotten the disability tax credit, it opens eligibility for Canada Disability Benefit. But it doesn't guarantee that you will get the Canada Disability Benefit.
Income tested, because it's income tested once you're there. Because first of all, they test you. You got the disability tax credit? Yep, check out. You got the box. Then the next box you got to tick off that you don't have as much income. You got a low income. So you got to check that box.
And for example, spousal income may impact that benefit. Yep. And you and I both agree that we don't agree that spousal income should have any impact in it.
But have any impact, because what did your spouse do?
Well, in fact, actually, and here's the crazy thing about it, and we've talked about this with ODSP before. If you suffer because say you and I were married and we had a specific income, you've got your debts, I've got my debts, and you had an accident, you still got your debts, you've still got the bills you owe, and suddenly to put all that on me is incorrect.
Yeah, and it ruins relationships.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And somebody has addressed it that women with disabilities, she only looked up women, but men also have a higher rate, that when they are living with a spouse, that there's that increased amount of interpersonal violence with their intimate partners.
It wouldn't surprise me in the least.
Yeah, and there was a woman who did some research under one of the social work journals, and she was saying that a lot of these women with disabilities would otherwise be eligible for ODSP or something like that, and the partner may be making too much money, maybe $1 over.
Yeah.
And it's very stressful to try to support somebody, another person, on $35,000 a year.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's kept very low.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Way too low. And
you really have to examine this, and how most families barely survive with 2 incomes. Everybody complains about the price of housing, the price of groceries, the price of everything else, but they don't realize that people with disabilities are not allowed to live in a 2-income household.
Yeah, they're barely getting 1 income.
Yeah, not even 1 income sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes spouse is a caregiver too.
But that's not necessary. That doesn't necessarily relate to, although
doesn't necessarily relate. Okay, but I'm hoping to see it's almost like a generational education system, how we have to educate people who are making these policies, for them to understand how it actually works when you put these policies in on the ground level.
All right. Okay, so we're kind of at the end of this one.
Yeah.
So if you need specific legal, you got specific legal questions, you can come to Invictus Legal, and we're at 905-688-5598. Angela's email is angela@weareinvictus.legal, and my email is peter@weareinvictus.legal, and their website is weareinvictus.legal. There you go.
There you go.
And one important thing to note
is that what you heard today is not legal advice. Hey, we comment on legal issues on our shows, and many times it follows up with somebody writing and saying, "Oh, I've got this situation I was wondering if you could help me with." But then that would have to be, you'd have to come in here, do a consultation and a retainer for us to actually work on your specific issue. Okay. But if you do need legal advice, you have to contact a paralegal or a lawyer, because they're the ones who are qualified and licensed to give that to you.
Yeah. Okay. And well, thank you for being here. This show's not really been a specific one about legal problems, more about benefit type things, but
it could become legal if
yeah,
like as I said, I can handle disability tax credit appeals. Right? And there are people who may want to appeal it.
Yeah.
Okay, because there are different things. I have to show how I can put a square peg into a round hole. See if we can do that.
Yeah, right? And exactly. There are some abilities to. There's some requirements for appeals, but it's always important that if you're impacted by disability, that you understand the system. And who better to get it from than somebody like Angela, who has a depth of knowledge about understanding and working on disability type matters.
Yeah,
so
and there's a whole range of disability options. Even if you do manage to get the disability tax credit, that's another thing I might want to talk about someday, is it opens other doors too, not just to the disability benefit. There's other doors it opens to. And I think that this is something that I think the government needs to broaden it so that other people can get it, with proof of need, of course. But but there has to be some way of doing it. But there's some very good programs out there that have been useful for people. They
Yeah.
have given them some good benefits over the years.
Yeah. All right. And check them out if they're, you know, check out the government programs if they're for you, then make an application, go from there.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next week.